Hi, my name's Jane Scarf, and I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I want to talk to you today about common law and the Canadian Bill of Rights. Just so happens it has a very close relationship. In Section 1A of the Canadian Bill of Rights, it says, life, liberty, and security of person, and enjoyment of property, and not to be deprived thereof, except by due process of law. Well, it turns out that the definition for due process of law is law that's based on the decisions, the court decisions, so precedents. So precedents set by judges that become law. And the definition of common law is a process of law where decisions of judges become law or precedent. So it means the same thing, exactly the same thing. So that tells us that the Canadian Bill of Rights is based purely on common law. And that's really important today because unlike the Bill of Rights, the Charter is not based on common law. It's based on, God only knows, I guess a form of maritime law, because the law is established by the government rather than by precedent of judges. And recently, that's even gone so far as to allow laws that override rights to be set by bylaws, borders created by bylaws, closing business by bylaws, closing churches with bylaws. Like that's like completely incoherent way of establishing a law. We need to use the methods that were set up and agreed to by Canadians. Canadian Bill of Rights is established. It went through all the democratic process, voted on 3 times, discussed by the public, debated, committees, all that. And there was even quite a long discussion even before the bill was put in motion. There was a discussion for many years, I think 20 years, about whether we should try to enshrine our common law rights or we should just allow them to operate on the basis of, the precedent and so on. But I'm really glad that the decision in the end was to enshrine these rights. And they're constitutionally binding, and they're very clear. And everyone should have a look at them. It gives you an overview of what kind of rights we have protected in Canadian law. And primarily liberty and legal rights, how the police have to handle things, all that kind of thing is all in there. Your right to freedom of speech, assembly, association, and press are all in there. And religious freedom is in there. It's a very well-defined set of rights that we have in there. And in the end, if we can get people focused on using the Bill of Rights to fight all of this so-called emergency bylaws, we're going to be doing good. And then we need, when this is over, when we win, we'll use our Bill of Rights to win and assert and maintain our rights. And when it's over, there's going to be accountability. And that's already started. There's a Senate committee in the United States looking into the origins of the virus. And according to Dr. Fauci's emails, it was man-made. The virus was man-made. And then that information was censored by the press, the mainstream press and social media. This is according to the Senate committee in the States. And also, they're very disturbed by reports that they've had that doctors were censored from social media and from the mainstream media when trying to bring out information that showed that ivermectin, I always say it wrong, but the drug that is used to treat COVID has an extremely high rate of success. In most cases, up to 100% success in completely eradicating the COVID. And these are people who are in critical condition, and they're within 24 hours, it's all gone. People that would probably otherwise have died. So the committee is complaining that millions of deaths around the world are a result of that censorship of the information about the origin of the virus, as well as suppression, censorship about the cure for it. And in Canada, there is a House of Commons, just newly struck committee to investigate the Winnipeg Virology Clinic, I think they called it, who had relations with the Chinese military. And this committee is demanding information from Health Canada about what went on between China and this lab, and Health Canada is refusing to give it, even though that's unlawful to do so, illegal. And anyway, that's really hopping, and I expect to see some good results out of that. And again, I want to commend all of the regional police in Ontario who have refused to overstep rights. That's 44 out of 44 regional police refused to enforce the stay-at-home orders, which would have involved stopping you either walking or by car, demanding your ID, demanding to know where you're going, and make the decision as to whether it's essential or not. And of course, you can get fined and turned back and whatever if they think it's not essential. But they didn't do it. Not one regional services did it. I think some OPP did it because they made a public statement that they would do these things. They would close your business, close your church, all that. And your home, that's a part of it too. Those bylaws, if there's more people than they have decided is a safe amount. So say if they say it's 5 and you have 7 people in your house and somebody complains, the police, according to the bylaws, were supposed to smash into your house without a warrant, remove everybody out of the house, and lock your house down. And your business, same thing, and your church, the same thing. They didn't do it. They never did it. They didn't do it at Skelly's. That was off-duty police officers hired as private security to go into Adamson Barbecue there. That was just a big psyop to scare everybody into thinking that's the way the police were going to handle things, but that's not the way police handle things. And also, military are not doing anything, and the RCMP in Ontario are not doing any of the enforcement of this stuff. And my friend told me today, at the airports, they're not giving out the tickets anymore either. They have public health clerks passing out the tickets. You know, huge tickets too, like if they're not going into the public, or I mean, not the public, but going into the quarantine hotels and paying the bill for it and all that stuff. They just wanted to go home, and they could do their quarantine at home. But they had tried to get them to go to these quarantine hotels. So that's falling apart on them too. And another thing that I want to report today, I just found out today that Ontario is not in a state of emergency as of June 9th. So that means that the emergency bylaws under the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act and the Reopening of Ontario Act, not valid, because they're only valid in a state of emergency. So take your masks off, people. And take them off your kids, for God's sakes, if they have them on the kids. And open your business, because you'll beat it for sure, because those bylaws are non-effective, have no effect, because we're not in a state of emergency. And you can look that up on the Ontario government website. You'll see that the orders were expired on June 19th, and they were not reinitiated. And also, if you think about it, the vaccines that they're giving, they have never been approved. What happened was they got temporary approval to be used in emergency only. We're not an emergency anymore. Therefore, those vaccines are illegal. There's no approval for them. So every single vaccine that goes on since June 9th, there can be liability for that. And that's, that's whether there was any reaction or not. It doesn't matter. They had no business sticking those needles in your arm when there's no state of emergency in Ontario. And if they didn't know, they should have known. So that's a really good news all around. And just watch out for your Canadian Bill of Rights. I think it's doing more than we even know, because I believe police have to use the Canadian Bill of Rights to say no to this stuff, because the Charter would require them to do these emergency orders until down the road a constitutional challenge would result in finding them unconstitutional. Then they don't have to do them anymore. But with the Bill of Rights, they don't have to do them straight out of the gate, because they're not allowed to override your rights without a federal act of parliament or a judicial decision. But neither of those things happen, therefore they can say no, and the military can say no. And that's really where we're going to win this, because, if our police and our military are turning against us, we don't have much of a chance. So thank God, and literally thank God, they're not. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, finally. And I appreciate all the work that all the different people in the freedom movement have done, and nurses and doctors that have spoken out, and a few politicians, not enough, but a few have. And I think this is turning around, and I hope to see Ford, Trudeau, and all the main movers in jail when this outcomes. And like I say, the Commons Committee is saying that it's a breach of national security that's gone on here, and that's from the Liberal government. And they're getting defeated on the censorship bill too. What is it, C10? I won't go into the details of that, but it's slowed right down, and it's unlikely going to pass now. So I'm going to sign off now, and I wish you luck with all of the struggles that you're going through with regard to all of this. But I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that we're just about out of this now. Okay, good night.